And we're live.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon for everyone in Europe and Asia. Welcome to this FSI Live session. Today we'll be talking with TCS and the London Stock Exchange around investment insights and data monetization. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ashok Krishnaswamy, who's Head of Data Solutions Technology at the London Stock Exchange, and Ed Simmons, who's VP of Enterprise Architecture, along with Prav Pachandi, who's Head of CDO Projects at TCS, to go into this session in more detail. There is a poll that you have access to, so if you'd like to take a look at that and answer those poll questions as you go through, and feel free to leave questions in the chat that we can come back to later. So Prav, over to you.
Thank you, Stuart, and hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to meet you all today. In the first 10 minutes, I'm going to cover the growing importance of data. Since the 2008 crisis, asset managers have seen an outflow of funds, from active funds to passive funds, and also that came about a sustained period of low margin, which became actually a reality. This led to innovation in the product creation. Then came the savior a few years back in the form of smart beta funds. And what is smart beta funds? It is a factor-driven, which is clearly a data-driven fund through empirical analysis. Investment managers may want to call this as factor as king, but I can take the liberty call this as a data as king. 400 plus or 500, nearly 500 factors in smart data, leading to an assets of around $900 billion US in exchange traded products, which is around 20% of the ETPs, which is a huge achievement. And this is because driven by data and enhanced through factors. It's just one trend in the asset management industry. Data continues to be key in defining the diversification strategies in the post-COVID world, in the era of negative expected returns in the bonds. This data itself comes in various different forms and comes with various different complexities, which we'll cover shortly. Over the same period, the social behaviors and the environmental consciousness has been changing, leading to an increase in ESG mandated funds, covering impact investing, covering socially responsible investing, and also the core ESG funds, sustainable investing. And that leading to around nearly $30 trillion of funds globally. As you can see in the graph in the bottom right-hand side, the ESG mandated funds are continuously growing at a faster clip. Once again, this trend is hungry for data, and the data being sourced from various different sources, from annual reports, from websites, from social media, from GRI sites, and also eagerly looking for quality and standards. Furthermore, there has been an increase in M&A activity in the asset servicing side to consolidate positions, to provide an end-to-end capabilities, custodians acquiring front office capabilities. This is further increasing the complexity dimension of data and increasing the complexity of using data effectively. So the common strand here is data is key and data is critical. No, data is not just simply key, as I say, but also it has a significant influence across the services offered by the firms and also across the value chains. New set of data have arrived on the scene, and that actually gives us a compelling reason to look at it. And we have products, we have funds influenced by social media, and there are news, information, sentiments, and sentiments is acting as another factor in addition to the fundamentals and technicals in the investment management space. And a lot of emerging and innovative technologies like artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning has given new dimension to data called intelligent client services. That needs no explanation. We also have intelligent operations, which is automation of business processes, bringing in efficiencies, bringing in time to market, reducing the fails in the trade, And finally, intelligent risk and compliance. And that is again driven by data, leading to early identification of risk, reduction of fraud, and automated compliance. Those are all very intelligent data services, which is driven by data. Similarly, there's a huge influence of data across the value chain. As you can see in the McKinsey chart there are behavioral segmentation, predictive algorithms driven by data can increase sales by 30%. And also, similarly, there are intelligent operations, which I mentioned about, can take a third of the cost away from middle and back office operations. Again, the influence of data is very clearly seen. And it has been seen over the many years, but that has been accelerated in the way the technologies and the data is being leveraged. There's another important element of data, which is the alternate data. There has been a severe growth of alternate data over the years. As you can see on the chart on the right-hand side, it is growing exponentially. There's one benchmark which suggests 90% of the data today has been created in the last 2 years, and that is accelerating at much faster rates. Now, if we haven't tamed this animal today, then imagine how the future is going to be. Now, having alternate data along with the traditional data is becoming a norm. There are a huge number of data sets. If you look at it, there are social media data sets, there is ESG data, there is the satellite imagery, there's traffic data. There's so many different types of data sets that are available. We call some of these data as alternate data, but in other industries like tech industry, like in retail sector, these data are already mainstream data. So that's the direction of travel that we are going within capital markets and within the BFSI industry as a whole. In TCS, we have a alternate data framework. As you can see, there are 6 dimensions to it. There are dimensions from a news and social media based, which is corporate information based on news and research and analysis, calendar of events, so on and so forth. Then we have the adjacencies data. The adjacencies from logistical industry, from supply chain, from weather data, ship movements. A lot of adjacencies data become very critical. Then you have data from non-traditional aggregators, like ESG data from GRI or from advertising agencies. Then we have smart beta, the smart data. And the reason I call it smart data is in 2 folds. One is because there are data which are already available, but now we are seeing it in a different light. Those are the factors that I referred to when I started this conversation. And then you have IoT other device data, which is a smart and live data. And then you have alternative insights and benchmarks. And I would like to stress upon it because benchmarks and insights are nothing new in the capital markets world. But we have new business insights. We have new ways of identification of defaults in bonds using machine learning. So a lot of alternative benchmarks are coming into play. And finally, the open data from banking. This is 6 dimensions of alternate data. And again, these dimensions cover the universe of alternate data set, and they play a critical role in the future of investment management and in broader sense, in the future of capital markets. Now, let me cover what's the effect of this data. This gives us a huge opportunity. Exponential growth in data gives us huge opportunities. And I've just put those opportunities in 4 different buckets, as you can see there. One is a customer experience. Recommendations and more personalized recommendations at scale started with the tech industry. And approximately 35% of revenue for Amazon is coming through these recommendations. From there came into the consumer, from a retail banking. And yes, of course, now it is very much alive in the institutional side, in the corporate customers in different forms. Could be in self-service forms or could be in other, in a more personalized view for the institutional investors in the way they are guided into the fund platforms. That's on the customer experience. The data and investment decisioning is not new, but the way it is evolving and how innovations are taking place in this area is very interesting. This is happening in a very rapid way, from recognizing and predicting trends, to aggregation of information to create insights. Could be research aggregations, modeling patterns to have a transparent view of business and to simulate new business model to simulate new indices, to create new insights across the board, and above all, to de-bias decisions, which is very critical in the investment decisioning, and technology plays a key role in that. That's a second effect because of the growth in the data. The third is on the efficiencies, on both hyper-automation or cognitive automation, automation of business processes, automation of end-to-end life cycle, which is very key from the efficiencies perspective. And finally, data provides a common language to bring industries together, to bring the adjacencies together, to bring partners together. Yes, there are challenges in protocols, challenges in formats. Already the industry is working towards it. There are quite a few initiatives in the market in helping to bring industries together and its industries and partners and fintech initiatives together to create an ecosystem. And that there's a huge opportunity within capital markets to leverage that. So those are, broadly speaking, some of the key effects that we see due to the growth in the data. Now, opportunities are great, but first we need to cross the swamp, the data swamp. There are a lot of challenges in the data. There's been a continuous evolution in the data platforms, data warehouses to data lakes, on-prem to cloud, modernization of data. We are spoiled for choices on what is the right data platform to choose. Should you go for on-cloud, or should you go for on-prem, or should you go a combination of things? What kind of a data ecosystem components that are required? There are opportunities, there are choices, but the right strategy is very important. Governance is another important challenge. Regulations hit this space through BCBS 239, covering risk and finance. And continuously, there has been so many penalties that is coming from regulators. Consent orders are being thrown at the banks. Huge topic and huge investments, which requires discipline, which requires cultural change, in addition to meticulous choice of technologies, which is very key in this journey. The third challenge is the automation, both on data processing, which is very important. If you want to scale up, then you need a proper automation of the end-to-end data process and automation of the business processes. And finally, insights, which is a huge topic. And the question is, where's the start and where is the end from an insights point of view? Now, we are going to address some of these challenges today in two parts. In the first part, I'm going to hand over to Ashok and Ed shortly to take us through their experience within London Stock Exchange, and then followed by, I will talk about investment insight solution, a joint development between TCS and SAP, which I will walk through. With that, hand over to you, Ashok.
Thanks, Prab. Hi, everyone. Can just move to our slides. Just as a brief introduction, we are just going to present a case study solution that we built for the information services division within the London Stock Exchange. Just to give a little bit background on the kind of business we're involved in, it's mostly data related. We do provide data, plus we build a lot of data related solutions for the investment world. So the challenges obviously are around typical data related ones, right? We have variety of data sources and formats. We have data across the enterprise. Then we also use a lot of publicly available data. So there's always a constant need to kind of keep switching the data sources that we use, or put them together in a way that kind of comes together uniquely for a particular solution. So kind of unifying the data that we had across the enterprise, having a catalog of what data we're using for what purpose, and then being able to kind of offer the data quality because it's coming from various sources, and in some cases not necessarily knowing who the owners are, were some of the key challenges that we wanted to address. So how we went about putting together the solution was we kind of evaluated various options there, including some of the cloud providers. And then we thought that kind of a minimal code environment with a lot of automation and business self-service is a kind of solution we wanted to build for the future. So we'll be presenting how we went about doing it, what we put together. Ed is from our enterprise architecture team. Ed, anything you want to add in terms of setting context before we?
Yeah, just in terms of context, I know you guys hear of us as the London Stock Exchange, but remember we're also FTSE and Russell, as well as Merchant. So all these other brands that we have are really big, large consumers and producers of information. So that's the challenge we're talking about here.
Okay. If we can move to the next slide. Just to give an overview of the solution, like I said, obviously we need to kind of bring data from various sources. So the solution was built as a greenfield on AWS. So obviously we need to ingest data from various of our on-prem systems, plus what we have within our cloud ecosystem and various data providers. So kind of bringing it all together into a lake, and then being able to profile what we have was one of the key requirements. So we used the SDI module within SAP HANA, and we're also using Data Intelligence, Data Hub, which is now called Data Intelligence, as our primary ingestion solution. Once we get in the data, obviously, there is always a need for knowing what data came in. So the profiling within Data Hub really helps. Then as we get in the data, we map them, we populate our master data, and then the quality and governance really becomes one of the key requirements as we build the solution. So we use information steward for a lot of quality rules around accuracy, completeness, and the way we have built this data quality rules is for the business to be able to kind of flex what they are checking for, being able to increase or decrease the variance in the data quality rules. So again, quality is important, but at the same time, it's more around business having control over how they're checking the quality and not having to go through IT every time they want to change something. From a governance standpoint, obviously we do have the data catalog, so we keep up to date, what feeds we onboarded, what is it being used for, and then who the owners are. So there's a typical approval process that goes through, that's built within the platform of, who requested the data, who's using the data. So there's always, a checks and balances in place, which is very critical to our governance. And, finally, with data intelligence, obviously, we want to kind of, put the data to more use after it's persisted within our master data model. So things around, predictive analytics and kind of looking at, how the data has been changing over a period of time brings all those insights to kind of see, what trend we are seeing, with the data that we are dealing with. So if we can just go to the next slide where we can kind of deep dive into the solution. So this kind of, presents the solution at a high level. So if we kind of look into the left-hand side, it talks about the various data sources that I just mentioned before. We land them in a lake within AWS, so we always have a track of what data was ingested into the platform. And data intelligence is what we use as a central mechanism of getting data into the platform. So anytime we get new data sources, we use the profiling capability within data intelligence, so that gives us the rows and columns and the spread of data within a particular column. So that's helpful to kind of work with the business when we are trying to look at some new data sources. And the profiling is also used, the metadata it extracts is used to compare what kind of data we got last month, last week, so we can kind of see, are we seeing any changes in data that we should not be seeing. So that profiling capability is very helpful. And obviously we need to then kind of build up a pipeline to ingest the data, map it, and populate the master data within HANA. So we are using data intelligence for our traditional ETL pipelines. From a SAP HANA standpoint, obviously it's a varying level of features. So once we get the data in its raw format in, and it is transformed, the master data model, we do have some predictive analytics again within SAP HANA to kind of look at some advanced trends within the data. We use the rules framework within SAP HANA to kind of write any business logic that we need to, then start constructing, what the data should be doing for us. And we also use Power Designer. So it's kind of an ecosystem that we have built with a couple of tools, which we thought is all, almost zero code for us, but all these software really talk to each other in a nice way. We don't really have to build the bridge. So we kind of, anytime we ingest a new data feed, we take a data model within Power Designer, we evolve the logical model, kind of goes through approval, and then we kind of deploy the physical model into SAP HANA.
Yeah, it should make some really good point here in that we were starting from ground zero, and we realized while we could build and integrate a very complex system with multiple tools, the lack of integration that we had to do here was really a key to our decision. Because we know we wanted a low-code environment here, and to push data decisions down to the business. So that was the overall goal. And this has worked out for us nicely in that the products are integrated reasonably well together.
Thanks, Ed. So, once we have the data in, like I said, it's quality checked, it's ready. Obviously, there's some level of analytics and insights we gain from data, that happens within the platform. But obviously, the data is more useful to downstream systems and various other applications within the enterprise. So we kind of distribute the data, using various channels. Obviously, sending them out as files is one. There is nice integration from all the tools, both HANA and data intelligence to Kafka and other message buses. We do have a PubSub model where we kind of publish events as and when certain data points change. And obviously, we have built some APIs that kind of exposes some of the key data domains for consumption. We also have an entitlement model with an IAM tool that kind of controls who has access to what data and who can use data for what purposes. So again, like I said, it's a greenfield build within AWS. It's kind of how some of these tools come together. There are overlaps in functionalities. You could kind of do the same thing in more than one tool, but we kind of have come up with our own principles based on guidance from SAP in terms of what do we use for what, where is the product roadmap going, and kind of purpose-build the platform that way. Okay, if we can move to the next slide. So that kind of brings us to, all right, so we built the platform, what are we seeing in terms of benefits? Obviously, data onboarding is pretty quick. Getting raw data into the platform is, it's really a click of a few buttons. And even, being able to map the data, cleanse it, and quality check, it's now a matter of weeks and not months. So there's a significant reduction in terms of being able to onboard and, kind of produce, industry-grade data for business. So there's a significant reduction there. From data quality standpoint, like I said, it's, there is a scorecard we have built. So we very specifically check every data that comes into the platform. So there are rules that are triggered that runs through. And if there are exceptions created, the data goes into a queue and somebody has to really kind of verify, if the variance in data is something that's acceptable. So there's an increased view on data quality. And because we kind of built this on the cloud, we don't run it as a SaaS. So even though we took perpetual license and before in our environment, there was a significant amount of automation that went in. We could really spin up these environments and bring them down, at a click of a button, CI/CD pipelines. So that kind of really gives us an advantage in terms of the total cost of ownership, plus including, things like the HANA tiered storage and things like that. It's the cost has been something that we've been able to keep under the limit that we thought would take to run the platform. And then obviously the infra level automation also kind of helps us to keep our compute and storage costs low. And anything you wanted to add here?
No, I think you covered it really well.
Okay. So I think, is there another slide, Prab, or did we cover everything? Yeah. So back over to Prab.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashok and Ed, for explaining this case study, the next-gen platform, and covering some of the key aspects on how we went about creating the platform, governance, and quality and insights. That's great. Thank you. Now, we come to the final part of this session before Q&A. I will provide a view on, as I mentioned, on the investment insight solution, which we have developed. So first, let me just, why this investment insight solution? There are a few important critical parameters that we are trying to address through this. One is to provide a holistic insight, to provide a 360-degree view of investments, to help create innovation in product creation, to bring in various different types of data sets, and to make it work together in a cohesive, integrated manner. And then to to solve some of the data quality problems, some of them which Ashok had also mentioned, solve data quality problems within an enterprise. And finally, to build a more strategic and automated data management platform, including covering the master reference data as well. So that is a core reason for building this investment insights. And this has been a joint offering between TCS and SAP, as you can see some of the SAP components out here. So broadly speaking, there are two core to the solution. One is the data core, built on the SAP platform, SAP HANA, data services, data intelligence, and then there's a business solutions core. So the data core has solutions around ingestion to data processing of both traditional, structured, unstructured, traditional, alternate data, and also the data core has some of the TCS IP in it, machine learning based data discovery and machine learning based data quality management, which I'll touch upon a bit. As well as you can see on the right-hand side, the business core has various components. There are pre-built modules, and that is being enhanced as we speak. Some of the modules are the Insights 360, which I'll show in a second, and analytics and simulation aided modules, ESG integration, and many other modules are in the pipeline. So let me give some more view about the solution. The first one is the 360-degree view. As you can see, I'll give just a brief on this. The intention is to provide a holistic view and bring various different aspects about an investment together in a single view. So here's just a beginning in terms of providing a financial performance view, ESG view, as well as a fund rating and other view into a single dashboard. That is at a fund level, or you can call it as index level, portfolio level. It's quite synonymous as far as the way they're structured and the way it can be decomposed. The next screen here, this shows about a next level view in terms of at each fund, the underlying instruments, underlying component level. And again, looking at returns and looking at ESG returns, both ESG performance and financial performance is here. If you go down, there are more details about a particular, both at the instrument level as well as at a macro fund portfolio level, providing various sensitivity level information, things like what is the FX effect and what is the risk adjusted performance. So you can crunch in many different views about at a macro level as well as at a constituent level to create a singular holistic view about the investments. Now, there are a few more information here. The decomposition comes at various levels. It's not only from a fund or index to a constituent, but also ESG level decomposition from environment, social, and governance. And I'll talk about our ESG integration solution in a bit. But again, here it provides a view on at each of the subsector level, at the environment, social, and governance, where a particular stock or where a particular bond stands. Here is another interesting simulation aspect that we have added on to the solution. This can be applied both from index level or for a portfolio manager or for bespoke index creation. As you can see, a listed set of securities on the right-hand side, you say swap in and swap out. We have given certain parameters to look at, but you can actually crunch in more information into it. So based on a view on let's say ESG performance or risk management or even sentiments, you can swap in and swap out a particular constituent. And the moment you swap in and swap out, it will recalculate your score and your performance and your returns at a macro level, at a fund level, or at an index level. To be able to simulate this and take a decision whether to take a particular stock, add a particular stock in your portfolio, or to add a particular stock into or a bond into your index. And finally, here are just some of the richness that we have that you can look at: a financial performance, ESG performance, risk performance, sentiments, news, and there are other things that are being added. So this is, in a nutshell, view about the investment 360, which is part of the investment insight solutions that I was referring to. There are other add-ons to this, as you can see here. One is there are two machine learning-based solutions. Data quality is key. Ashok mentioned about it, but data quality in the larger sense is very critical for every single organization. And we have machine learning-based data quality solutions, which is a TCS IP, and that has both supervised learning, unsupervised learning, entity resolution, rule generation. So the various components that are available under the machine learning-based data quality management, which is as an add-on to the solution. And similarly, data discovery, an automated data discovery, helping with both metadata and lineage, and using NLP techniques and semantic analysis, various techniques that are involved to create the rich data lineage around it. So these are some of the solutions, some of the IPs that we have from TCS, which is an add-on to the solution. And that's another key element, which is the ESG integration, which is key. Now, if you look at the challenges with ESG, it's the abundance of data, but mostly unorganized. That's a challenge, and lacks standards, lacks transparency and controls across the environmental, social, and governance. The question is, how do we harness this data, and how do we really build ESG integration and the strategies, and resulting in actionable insight from a ESG perspective? And how do we leverage AI, ML, advanced analytics for that? So we feel there are important elements that are required: indicator library across sectors and subsectors, gathering corporate level indicators and globally acceptable guidelines, and how do you create a confidence level for that? Homogenization of data, and also indicator appropriation. And these are highly technical, with domain and technical topics. And these are libraries that come as part of the ESG integration solution to help to make the right decision in terms of the investments, and also provide transparency and control from an ESG point of view. So back to the summary. I've talked about the two important elements, the data core and the business core. The data core has foundation on SAP Business Technology Platform, with an add-on using TCS IP like machine learning-based data quality and automated data discovery. Also talked about the business core consisting of investment insights, which is Insights 360, having simulation models, having ESG integration built into it. And also we have other optimization and modeling algorithms or modeling modules, which are part of the investment insights. And that is the summary of the solutions that we are launching. So before I close, let me just look at this in terms of, I began by saying why investment insights. So it's very critical. So if a firm is looking to invest in holistic insights or create or leverage alternate data in a more efficient manner, or create a strategic platform or solve data quality platforms, then we believe that this investment insights solution will be a powerful enabler, a powerful tool. So with that, now I would like to thank you once again, and I would like to give it back to Stuart and open for any questions.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Prab. Thank you also, Ashok and Ed, for your insights on that session. A couple of questions that have come up. The first one is not an unusual one, right? I spend most of my time in capital markets, which is an area of financial services that a lot of people I speak with don't necessarily think of the SAP brand as being, the first area they would go to for a capital markets kind of specific scenario. So, Ed, perhaps I can kind of pass this one to you to start with. The question is, SAP is perceived as an ERP company. Why would the London Stock Exchange work with, kind of select SAP for a data and analytics platform?
Well, I think if you look at the work SAP has done recently, coming out of their ERP platform to provide data and analytics for their ERP platform, it worked very well in terms of transferring it to a generic data management solution, particularly when you look at master data management and the link between master data management and data lineage. allowing us to have a seamless data pipelines. It's interesting that in manufacturing, master data management is very important. And in some ways, since, actually in manufacturing margins are less, they've looked at very cost-effective solutions to do this over the years. And in some ways in financial services, the tools weren't quite ready for us, but now they've really, in the last couple of years, changed and been very well adapted. So I think SAP, with its foot in manufacturing and process control, really can, use that skill set in making financial services to have cost-effective, automated solutions with less people involved. And that's really what we were attracted to.
Great, thank you for that. And I think I'll just add as a bit of sort of self-advertising on this. There's an on-demand session that I've recorded for SAP Strategy on Capital Markets, which you can go to. And in that session, it'll give you some background to how SAP is working with capital markets customers. A couple of quick statistics which you might not be aware of. 75%, in fact, more than 75% of SAP's banking and capital markets customers utilize the SAP data and analytics platform for non-SAP applications, so for custom and third-party applications across a variety of areas. So there's more than 2,000 organizations from a capital markets point of view who are utilizing the data and analytics area, and this is where SAP and TCS are working closely in terms of our partnership at the moment going forwards. So so thanks for that, Ed. One other quick question, Prav, this one's for you. You mentioned the investment insights relevance for investment managers around the ESG scenario. Can you perhaps elaborate on that a bit more?
Sure. Thank you, Stuart. So the solution is relevant from an asset manager as well as the market infrastructure firms. But let me explain from an asset manager perspective a bit more. I was discussing with an asset manager this week, and his question was, he's a head of investment management. So his question was, how can you enable my investment decisions? And his point of view was, I would like to look at various parameters, including financial risk and ESG, and in a holistic way, and decide the right instrument selection, which would meet his institutional investor criteria. And that has multiple things. One, he has to look at the criteria or the compliance rules given by the institutional investors to the asset manager, as well as he has to look at returns and risk. He or she should look at returns and risk in a more effective manner. So the solution helps in both the things. As I had explained, the solution brings in various different matrices, various different parameters together to provide that view in a holistic manner, and also provides a view to simulate it by changing parameters, by choosing different stocks or different bonds, or and how that will change the risk and the returns and the other factors from a portfolio level, which will help them, the asset managers, the investment managers, in taking the right investment decision. So that is one important aspect. I mentioned it's also applicable to market infrastructure firms and others. One example is the creation of a bespoke index, which is very critical. Now, it is largely a manual process today in terms of back and forth between the investors, could be an asset manager, and the index providers. Now, how do we automate this and move more towards a democratization of data, move more towards a self-service? That requires lots of capabilities. That requires capabilities in managing data management, in cleansing data, in quality, and also a transparent view on the confidence, on the quality of the data, and provide a self-service ability to simulate things. Again, as I had mentioned, the solution brings in all these various elements together, and thus helps the market infrastructure firm as well, or index provider in this case as well, in a more efficient manner. These are just two specific outcomes that I took it as an example, but there are lots of other scenarios where this solution could be applied.
Thanks, Parag. I think if you look at the market dynamics at the moment, particularly for buy-side organizations, the combination of the margin pressures and the increase in the regulatory oversight that they're seeing is making it more difficult for them to innovate. So I think the capabilities that you've outlined today, sort of show how technology is becoming more of a facilitator by enabling organizations to monetize data assets that they have within the firm, or be able to unlock processes and make those available externally and create new sources of revenue in ways that they've not necessarily been able to in the past. So I think it's an important shift for the way organizations change for the future. Great. So Ashok, Ged, I'm not sure if there are any kind of closing remarks which you'd like to add to the session. I think you've covered a lot of ground today, so thank you for that. But
no, I think I just wanted to probably close off saying, it's been an interesting journey working with the SAP and TCS. So I think, we just look forward to kind of, carrying forward the partnership.
Excellent. Well, that leaves it for me to thank you all for your time this morning. Appreciate you joining us on this FSI live session. And please make sure you check out the agenda to see which other sessions could be relevant. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.